Well, I'm Paul Pignon, and that's on my t-shirt too. We're in the electronic studio of Radio Belgrade, in Belgrade, studio which I helped found way back in '72, and yes, I've been working here doing a piece for Art's birthday, a live broadcast which went out 2 nights ago from radio stations all over Europe, and so my contribution was the one from Radio Belgrade. Already, I'm back in the day, you know, because I left Yugoslavia when it was still Yugoslavia, and the studio back in '86, '87, and moved to Sweden. But already at the end of that period, I was working on the Synthi 100 very much with very unstable combinations of devices, you know, patches we call them, connections, which had some kind of life of their own. And that's where I came up recently with the idea, the name zoetic engines. Zoetic meaning having life, related to life. So I make these complicated connections, like seen on these diagrams, and then they have a certain behavior of their own. They do things. They make sounds by themselves. And if you listen now in the background, well, yeah, there are some small sounds here. Those are these, what I call my creatures, because I feel they are alive. They're just like talking among themselves at the moment. Only if I make a loud, or anybody makes a loud sound in the microphone here, that excites them, and then they get active, and then they make a lot of sound themselves, and they react to their own sounds, and then they can go on making a huge amount of sound for a long time. So that is what's fascinating to me about working on the Synthi 100, that it is possible to construct these, for me, living organisms, which you can't do with computers, you know. I mean, back in the day, right, in the end of the 80s, with, oh, well, now everything's going to be computerized and this is all old-fashioned stuff. Now all this old-fashioned stuff is very popular again, and for me it's popular precisely because of these things which I cannot do with a computer. So I'm very glad to be like back here and able to work with this kind of concept again. And so apart from doing this performance for Art's birthday, I'm also making use of the time here to make some more material and work some more with this concept of the zoetic engines. And yeah, it's very, for me, very rewarding musically. They're kind of alive. They're doing stuff now by themselves, and they just will react if I make any sounds into the microphone here. What we did for the Art's birthday broadcast is the sounds I used in order to activate these creatures were actually small segments, many different ones, from compositions done earlier on the Synthi 100 here in the studio since 1972. So there was a whole lot of history. That's why the piece was called The Synthi 100 Talks to Its Past. So I was activating with old pieces of old compositions from all those composers who have worked here in the past. But I can demonstrate a bit how they react to sounds from the outside. Now I'm speaking and that's not loud enough really to get them started. But if I do something on my clarinet, for example, play that at the microphone, something will happen, no doubt. So they start playing like this. Now I will lower the sensitivity again so they will get quiet quickly otherwise. Yeah, otherwise they go on playing for, who knows how long before they calm down again. So that's roughly the procedure for working with this kind of setup. Yeah, I could mention that I did a setup using these principles. I did a similar setup at Documenta 14 in Athens a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and there we had a microphone in the exhibition space. The Synthi 100 was there, the Greek Synthi 100 was there, and the microphone was there, and people visiting the exhibition could just go to the microphone and make noises, so people did. And then you would get something. Hello, hello, hello. 1, 2, 3. Now I put down the sensitivity again, nothing will happen. Put the sensitivity back. Yes, come on, make some noise now. Hello, hello. What? Yes, I think, yes, a bit more of that, please, yes. They can be a bit lethargic sometimes. But there, yes. So, reducing the sensitivity again so I can talk. So, that was a big success at the exhibition too. People could just come by to the microphone and make noise, and then things would happen. And yes, but just from the compositional aspect, the way these creatures are constructed, they do have a real wealth of sound evolution and textures. So one can do a lot with that, both live and using it as raw material for other compositions. So the first piece I did, which was tending in that direction, and that was called Microhabitat back in the day, and then I just, because I'm so at home with working on the Synthi 100, I started experimenting with various forbidden combinations, connections which you're not supposed to make, and discovered this principle of instability and aliveness, let's say. So I already had been doing stuff like that back in like 82, 83, and so when the Synthi 100 was refurbished here, and I got an invitation to come and work and give some classes, and of course I tried to pick up there where I had left off with that concept, which I'd already touched upon back then in the early 80s, or 84, 85 maybe, the latest. So it was really like, yes, revisiting the past and then carrying on from there, and and here we are now. It's still very, very productive for me musically. Once I've done all these connections on the, making the connections here on the patch boards, putting these pins in here connects the various modules together, and it becomes really complicated. And then I want to reproduce that. I have to, my way of doing it is I draw a diagram. I mean, everything is drawn in this diagram, and that is really complicated. It took me like almost 2 days to draw everything and note down every detail so I can reconstruct it, because otherwise it's so unpredictable, everything. You have to really have everything. You can't say, oh well, you just do this, you know. You can't leave instructions in words how to do it. It's quite impossible. So I have to draw these very detailed diagrams, and that allows me, and possibly somebody else if they want to reproduce them. Otherwise it's not, you know, unlike computers where you just click save and everything you've done is you can come back to. Yeah, once these are all taken away, you know, there's no way of getting back unless you have it really written down very, very detailed. So. What I was playing on this MIDI wind instrument were those small segments from various old compositions from the Synthi 100, which is the way we did the Art's birthday broadcast.